Today, we're going to talk about the ever-changing landscape of social media and what we've seen over the last few weeks. I'm here with Megan and Melanie as usual, but this time we've added in Sydney, who is a social media guru. So, hi, Sydney. Glad you're here. Um,
Hi, happy to be here.
So, Lynette, a lot of people are talking about everything that's going on digitally with different social media platforms. There's a lot of talk about what audiences are doing. What have we been seeing and what are we recommending right now?
so we have seen a shift of people. I don't know if you heard why, but Meta changed some of their policies, and then there was kind of a mass exit from Meta. Um, and then TikTok with the ban and then the uncertainty of like how it's going to move forward has affected some things too. At this time, we're not necessarily recommending that anybody leave Meta, but we are keeping a really close eye on it. And we do have some people that have made the choice that it doesn't reflect their values anymore, so they are leaving Meta. And so then there's some other avenues that we actually are just across the board recommending that everybody is on at this point in time. YouTube Shorts is the first one. It's 60 seconds or less, but on YouTube, if you don't know, it's portrait mode. It's very similar, like scrolling when you're on a phone. And then just general YouTube. And the reason that, we're recommending that is because YouTube's been around for 20 years and it's been consistent for 20 years. So while you might not think of it as a social media platform, it does still have consistency. The engagement's a little bit different, but the beautiful thing about YouTube and YouTube Shorts is that it lasts. So a lot of times when you have content on TikTok or Reels, you see it and then it's gone and then you never see it again. But YouTube comes up based on SEO and search because it's owned by Google, which you all know. That's kind of where we are right now. It's shifting all the time.
When it comes to that's spending time with your energy and people's time. When it comes to spending money on ads, similar idea, but like what else can people start to consider when it comes to advertising digitally?
We're recommending you start thinking about adding in Google. If you aren't already doing Google and you're only focusing on Meta, which we've always said Meta first, Google second, we're saying kind of maybe even those out a little bit more until we can kind of see what's happening. It's only been a few weeks, so we're not ready to make recommendations for changes because we need more than a couple weeks of data. We are saying if you're not in Google, if you're not using your Google Grant and you're not using Google Ads and YouTube pre-rolls, now's the time to start doing all of that. Same with Spotify. If you're a music or have a musical or some relation to music in some way, shape, or form, then we recommend adding in a Spotify ad or two at this point to raise awareness. What are you seeing in advertising trends when it comes from Meta?
Honestly, I haven't seen major changes yet. So that's part of why we aren't recommending mass exodus across the board from Meta as well, is across multiple clients, I am seeing typical ad performance and honestly, maybe a little bit higher at the moment. There could be a lot of factors going into that. I don't know if Meta's like advertising AI tools are getting a little bit more effective at the moment, if audiences are just really tuned into social media right now, whether they've chosen to leave, the people who remain are maybe like really tuned into just anything online right now. But I am not seeing major dips in ads yet, and that's why we're not recommending taking your money away from there yet. If you're in a season where you're starting to think about your next season's budget, that's where we're saying don't freak yourself out and majorly shift presently, but prepare in the future for, like we always say, diversity in your advertising and your communications is going to be super important. So that's where we're saying next year, looking at your budget, next season, looking at your budget, starting to spread stuff out into Google, maybe into Spotify if it applies to your event. Keeping money in Meta right now will let you know if we decide that that's not our recommendation anymore. Um, but we've also been talking a lot about email because that's a free way to communicate with your audiences and you have major control over it.
And it's already the highest converting form of advertising, so lean into it a little bit more. Yeah.
Speaking of diversifying, Sydney, you've been working on getting our stuff out into a couple new and old places, but kind of putting your energy into different things lately.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like you guys are saying, we're seeing a lot of people sort of either maybe not fully leaving the Meta apps quite yet, but they are putting their energies into other places and sort of testing the waters in a lot of other areas. We've been putting, just as Confluence, a little bit more energy into like LinkedIn, and we're trying out Bluesky just to see what's going on over there because that seems to be sort of the biggest alternative social media platform that people seem to be like willing to sort of give a shot and see what's going on. I've seen just on my personal Facebook feed, like a lot of people sort of saying like I'm going to be spending less time here, but I'm keeping my accounts because this is where we have established these like Facebook groups and sort of community-based things that people aren't really ready to let go of yet. But I have seen sort of across the board people sort of trying to decide whether or not they're going to stay or like scrubbing out a bunch of their profile but keeping their account so that they can like remain in those groups and like glean the information they need from those and still like serve that community thing while they're testing the waters with other places, figuring out where else to go. I mean, not based on any data aside from what I'm seeing on my personal feed, but I do think there is sort of a general distrust of these, for lack of a better word, like legacy social media platforms. We've all just sort of taken these platforms, these well-established platforms that have been around for longer, like Facebook and Instagram, and saying, well, that's the only option, and that's where everybody is, so that's where everybody has to be. But now there's so many more options out there. I mean, TikTok has been around for a while. People are wary of it now because of the shutdown, and now it's back, and there's still a lot of uncertainty about if it's even going to stick around. You saw a lot of people, like creators on TikTok in the days before the shutdown was going to happen, going on and saying, here are all of the other places you can find me. And a vast majority of them were across multiple different platforms because they're like, I want to make sure that I'm here and like present, but a lot of people were saying I'm not going to go back to like I'm not sending people specifically to Instagram because I'm not interested in going back there. Trying to meet people where they are is a big deal, and for organizations trying to reach a younger audience, it might be time to even just dip your toe in the water of one of these other places just to see.
I went to Blue Sky a while ago.
Mhm.
And I love it. It is what Twitter used to be. Even Twitter kind of downhilled even before the X situation. And this is like original Twitter. You can build community there. They've got all sorts of different little like not chat rooms. You can follow these other channels and there's all sorts of stuff. There is an arts community there, and they are really, really using it. You can do photo video on the platform, but they're talking about adding an additional app that is specific to images. And if that happens, this is going to be the place to be.
Their own kind of Instagram potentially.
Yeah, kind of.
I
And think
haven't,
about it, Instagram was for artists,
yeah.
and then it kind of became for everybody else.
Bluesky is really fun. I really like it. I don't spend as much time there as I'd like to, just because I don't have time for social media as much as I used to in my life at the moment, because it's so customizable. The longer you spend on it, the more you can really like find your like little subgroups of like people with like interests and having meaningful conversations about things, which is very cool.
Maybe I'll have to try it. I'm on there, but I'm not on there.
Yeah.
I am still TikTok. It is totally different than it was a few weeks
Yes.
ago. Like
Hmm.
really different than it was a few weeks ago. But I'm still there because I've always been a TikTok girl. So
I,
Steve,
me too. Me
And
too.
I've been an Instagram Reels girl the whole time. So even with the coming, going, coming again of TikTok and new platforms, I think what this is going to show is like in one room, everybody can kind of have a different favorite social media right now. So we don't want to stress arts organizations out by saying you now have to quadruple your work. Think of it as like freedom to try new things and to test out different things, see if you can reach different audiences because we're clearly all in very different places right now. We're all keeping in touch with different things.
yeah, I think that's a very
Yeah.
important point, is all of us like something different in this room.
it's scary, but this is a great time to just start trying new things out,
Mhm.
being creative. Everybody who's part of this, it's part of the arts, is a creative in some sort of way. So get creative in what you feel comfortable with. Do you want to have something that's, more like, chat based and everything in groups? Then give that a try. You want to do more long form video. I mean, so many times we're recording videos and we end up not using 90 to 95% of it because we're trying to keep it all short form because that's what worked for the algorithms on TikTok and Instagram. And now if you throw YouTube in, you can put your long form video on there
Yes.
and people love it. I YouTube a lot. If I can't find anything good on TV, I just put YouTube on and I let it run.
Yeah, I
A
do that
lot of
too.
people do that.
Yeah, which is why we're recommending YouTube.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
consistency has been there and the relevance. From a ticketing and a box office standpoint, like I want to know which one you think, being on all of them, um, organically might resonate with more people from a ticketing and sales standpoint. And I know we're data people, but
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
I mean, I have a feeling it's still going to be the metas, and only because they have the tools where you can have those instant call to actions. Now, if the other platforms start adding that kind of stuff in, then I think they would be that's the way to go. I think there should still be some of your stuff obviously needs to be informational and it's got to be entertaining, just like we've always said that needs to be 80% of what you're putting out there. And like, your YouTube and everything is that, but then maybe try it on a short or maybe one of the longer form videos with a call to action added to it. And just you track it and see how it goes. Obviously Google ads, and if you're not doing a Google grant, for goodness sakes, do a Google grant. That's all action. That is all action. That is all about increasing traffic to your website. So that's, that should be happening. And maybe that is what fills in the place of not having that call to action on some of the other content that you're producing.
It makes me think about, again, the idea of diversifying is reaching people in different places. It doesn't just help you reach one person in this place, you're also reaching that one person in a lot of different places. And so being on their YouTube shorts, being on their Instagram feed, on their Facebook feed, now you're on their Bluesky feed, they're going to see a lot of you. And as long as you're doing it in an organic way that matches your brand and you're being just like, honest and open and personable and relatable and entertaining and informative, they're not going to feel overwhelmed like you're shoving your art down their throats. They're going to feel like they're connecting with you because you're in all of the places that they're in. So if we're thinking sales funnel wise, even if that one YouTube video or one Instagram reel doesn't lead directly to a ticket sale, it's helping them fall in love with your art and fall in love with what you're doing at your organization and informing them about what's coming up so that way when they make that decision, they've seen you all over the place. And then I'm going to keep going into traditional advertising and stuff like that because if we get into this world where digital becomes less reliable than it's been in the past couple of years, we're gonna not have to, but like we have the ability to start dabbling into a lot of different things. Again, emails, maybe it's mailers, maybe it's like flyers and stuff again, but making sure that you're all over the place. What we'll always hone back into is it's about your time and money. What we are going to recommend for you is always going to be what can you do consistently and well, and that's worth your time and money. It doesn't mean to implement all of these things immediately, but to test them out, like Lynette and Mel keep saying, we are data nerds. We want to know how these things are performing and that they're doing good things for you. And then you eventually work them all into your marketing strategy because it's all thought through ahead of time.
or should be if it's not.
Now that in the digital landscape, people are sort of all over the place, the importance of being able to capture people's like email addresses, making sure that when you do finally get somebody through the door and to see a show for the first time, that you know how to reach that out to them again and also making yourself accessible to people also. Because one of the other things that I saw a lot of creators doing on TikTok as the shutdown was sort of impending were saying, go subscribe to my newsletter because that's the easiest way for you to find me. So, like, being able to say, like, subscribe to our email list, or here's where you can find us in all of these different places, so that when people are, finally making the decision to commit to one social media platform or to just decide to scrub it all together, then they either know how to reach you, and if they've wanted to make sure that you can reach them, that they've had every opportunity to do that.
Thank you so much for joining us for this month in arts marketing. We're going to call out ourselves to make sure that we do exactly what we just told you to do. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms, wherever you can find us. Make sure you check us out on our website. We have blogs of much more information for you to find there. Make sure you sign up for our newsletter on our website there. Keep in touch. And if you have any questions about all the things we talked about today, we are always here to talk.